What's up, fam? Steve here, Re-Vera. Just wanted to talk a little bit more about the coronavirus. I don't want to come off as hyperbolic or irrational. I can very clearly substantiate everything I've said so far, but I do want to clarify the worst case plausible outlook that we have right now, as well as clarify what some optimistic scenarios look like, because there's every chance that it's not as bad as the plausible worst case scenario, obviously. So there's definitely a lot of hope here, and I definitely don't think anybody watching this should be especially concerned about their own personal safety, but there are realistic concerns you should be preparing for, and I'll get into that in a minute. So very important. Pay attention. So the plausible worst case scenario. Worst case scenario is it like mutates and kills the whole planet, but that's not going to happen. The plausible worst case scenario, the one that we should be using to justify massive action to stop this thing, is that by the end of 2021, 40 to 70% of the global population has been infected with the coronavirus. Death rate would probably go down as treatment gets better, but that would lead to a whole lot of deaths, and it would become endemic, which means as it mutates, it just keeps coming back, probably seasonally like the flu. So as viruses get better, hopefully the death rate keeps coming down. It's just another disease we have to deal with. There's plenty of other things that already kill us. We keep going as a society. It's not an existential threat to humanity or to society. That's bad, but it's, stuff keeps on going. Other options that are better is very likely as it mutates, it will become less deadly. This happens a lot with fast evolving viruses, because being deadly is evolutionarily not advantageous. The weaker strains of viruses are actually selected for more, because those are the ones that spread the fastest, because people don't stay in bed sick. They go out and they work and they play and go to theaters and cough on everybody. So that's a huge factor, and it's one that works in our favor. So that definitely can happen, and hopefully will happen. Apparently they've already got a vaccine ready for stage 1 testing, so if they rush that along, it can be ready in a few months. The virus likely will, though nobody knows because it's a brand new virus, it likely will follow seasonal trends and start settling down in around April. Now, Trump saying this in his usual idiotic fashion is wrong to say it's going to disappear. The virus is here. And what we want to do, what justifies this massive action that we should be taking is the goal is to keep it from becoming endemic. Endemic means that it's kind of in society. It's here to stay. You can't stop it, which means people just occasionally come down with it, and that's that. It's kind of like the flu. It's here to stay. Not going to get rid of it. We want to stop that. That's what justifies the massive response, because if you can quarantine it until a vaccine comes out and then vaccinate everybody, you can actually stop it dead in its tracks, so it never comes back. It ceases to exist as a problem. That's obviously what we want, because if we do that, we're going to save, over time, in the next decade or two, potentially hundreds of millions of lives. So that justifies a huge response. That justifies shutting down whole economic sectors for one confirmed case, just to make sure it doesn't spread. Now, that only justifies it if you value human lives over profit, which unfortunately our system doesn't. So your personal chances of dying are virtually non-existent. The chances of somebody you know dying, probably not, even in the worst case scenario, becomes more possible. Like I said, a 2% fatality rate, assuming that doesn't go down, which it likely would, at the same infection rate as the flu, would lead to about, out of every 300 people you know, one person dying. But that's like a very much a worst case scenario. It's not accounting for vaccines and treatments and stuff like that. So I wouldn't be worried about your safety so much. Now, in terms of what we should do, you should absolutely take steps to help minimize the chance of the virus spreading. And this isn't because you're going to die from it, because you probably wouldn't, and you're probably healthy, and you would probably be treated. It's to slow it down from spreading. So you absolutely should probably not go out in public crowds without a mask on, unless it's a Bernie Sanders rally, and then just go and wear a mask. And you should, wash your hands very often. Get in the habit of not wiping your nose with your hand like Pence did in the freaking conference. Because you wipe your nose with your hand. It's a respiratory virus. It's in your mucus. And then you shake somebody's hand, and now they have it. So get in the habit of not doing that and washing your hands often. Carry some hand sanitizer. Hygiene goes a long way in stopping this. Stand farther away from people. Don't let people cough on you. Don't breathe the same air they do in cramped quarters if you can help it. And again, this isn't something you need to be freaked out about, because chances are you would be just fine. It's because we want to slow down the travel of the virus so that we can hopefully stop it. More importantly, the CDC is warning of severe interruption to our daily lives. There's every possibility that some areas could get shut down. Again, I don't know how far Trump's willing to hurt the economy and his own profits from his own stocks that he owns in order to save lives. But as this gets worse, the pressure will build, and some local areas and governments will do it anyway. California has a pretty significant response already. They have in quarantine or under surveillance over 8,000 potential people. And these aren't people that potentially have it. They're people who came in contact with people who had coronavirus. So they're trying to keep a handle on this. But if that doesn't become enough, they're going to have to shut down travel. And that's going to affect the economy. If you don't already know, the economy has been crashing. The last 4 days have all had massive drops in the stock market. Just search Dow Jones or stock market and then look at a 5-day graph, and you'll see it. It's pretty significant. And that leads me to the most important thing is this is almost certainly going to crash the economy. So, at this point, there's not a whole lot you can do to prepare for it. But definitely don't make big purchases right now at the moment. Try not to get fired from your job. It's very important. You want job security right now, so, maybe not a good time to piss the boss off. The last recession, if you've seen my story, destroyed me, so I have every sympathy for everyone who's going to be affected by this. But do what you can to protect yourself and your family, and be conservative and have that budget, and better safe than sorry. If you have money to spare, it's an opportunity, and this is what happens in every recession: is wealth inequality gets worse because people with money use it to buy up everything that's now cheap, and the people who don't have the money are the ones selling everything. So wealth inequality gets worse every time. But if you happen to have a little bit of money, the best time to use it is in the downturn of the market. I've was hoping I'd be able to save enough money for a down payment on a house next time the recession crashes. Don't know if I'll be able to do it, but I mean, if you can, once the market crashes, that's absolutely the best time to buy a house, for instance, if you can. So anyway, so yeah, watch your hygiene, wash your hands, don't cough on people, buy a mask if you can, N95 particulate mask, and be ready for it. In case you get your area shut down, it doesn't hurt to have extra food and water on hand. Everybody should have really like a month or two minimum, if not 6 months of food on hand. And this isn't something you need to go to some preparedness expo and buy like, $10,000 worth of MREs or something. Hey, you can get food incredibly cheaply and store it. Like, for instance, rice and beans. Creates a complete protein, and it's really cheap. You can buy a month's supply for you and your family for probably like $40 or something. And you just buy a couple plastic pails with a plastic lid, so no mice or pests can get into it, and keep it in the garage, up in the attic, the crawl space, like whatever, just out of the way. And donezo. Now you don't have to worry so much. You at least have some food if something happens that's significant enough to disrupt supply chains. So it makes you feel a little bit better, because there are things that could happen that would interfere with food supply chains. So anyway, I do recommend some minimum levels of preparedness at least, and being ready for what's coming. So anyway, again, I wanted to put this out there to make sure that people aren't like panicking for their own personal safety, because I don't actually think you're going to die from the coronavirus. However, it is going to impact your life. Guaranteed. The economy affects everybody at some level. So just be ready for that. And let's keep fighting for Bernie Sanders, because he would be addressing this in a much better way, and only Medicare for All can really seriously address this issue. So anyway, thanks guys.